Get your hands off me! Do you know who I am? I am Silas Blackwood. I own this city. That room is a lie. The janitor planted it. I want my lawyers. This is the sound of a billion-dollar empire collapsing in real time. This is Silas Blackwood. At 8 a.m. this morning, he was the untouchable CEO of the Blackwood Spire, the tallest building in Manhattan. He was the face of the future. By 9 a.m., he was being dragged out of his own lobby in handcuffs, screaming at the cameras. Silas, fading out, desperate. It doesn't exist! You can't prove anything! Silas thought he was invincible. He thought he could bury his family's dark history under 80 floors of concrete and steel. He thought that if you sealed a door tight enough, the ghosts behind it would stay quiet forever. But he made one fatal calculation error. He ignored the invisible man standing in the corner. Leo Vance. He told me to clean out the trash. He didn't know that the trash was the truth. Silas ordered the janitor to burn the contents of a sealed basement room. He thought Leo was just a simple man with a mop. He didn't know that Leo Vance was a Vietnam veteran who had spent 30 years learning every secret this building held. And when Leo put the key in that lock, he didn't just open a door, he opened a grave. Let's go back 24 hours. The Blackwood Spire was buzzing with activity. Silas Blackwood was preparing for the Clean Slate initiative. It was a massive rebranding campaign designed to erase the company's old reputation as a chemical manufacturer and present them as a modern, eco-friendly tech giant. Silas was a man obsessed with appearances. He hated dirt, he hated dust, and most of all, he hated the past. I don't care what the Historical Society says, Sarah. Tear down the old facade. I want glass. I want chrome. If the investors see one brick from the 1980s, they'll think we're backwards. This company needs to look like it was born yesterday. Leo Vance was in the room pushing a silent cleaning cart. He moved slowly, methodically polishing the brass railing. To Silas, Leo wasn't a person. He was just a utility, a piece of furniture that breathed. Sarah, nervous. Mr. Blackwood, regarding the renovations for the sub-basement, the architects found a discrepancy in the original blueprints. Silas. A discrepancy? Speak English, Sarah. I don't have time for riddles. Sarah. There is a void space on level B4. It's about 2,000 square feet. It's not on the digital map, and it seems to be walled off behind the old generator. The contractors want to drill through the concrete to check for structural stability. The room went dead silent. Silas stopped pacing. He slowly turned around, his face pale. The arrogance vanished, replaced by a cold, sharp fear. Silas. No. No drilling, absolutely not. Sarah. But sir, if it's an empty pocket, it could be dangerous for the foundation. Silas, interrupting, menacing. I said no. That area is an old boiler room. It contains hazardous materials from the old factory, asbestos, lead. I don't want contractors poking holes in it. Is that clear? Sarah. Yes, sir. Crystal clear. Silas waited for Sarah to leave. Then he turned his attention to the man in the corner. He walked over to Leo, invading his personal space. Silas. Leo, you've been here a long time, haven't you? Since my father ran the place? Leo. 30 years, Mr. Blackwood, since the building opened. Silas. Good. You know how to keep your mouth shut. That's a rare quality these days. I have a special job for you tonight. Off the books. I'll pay you double time. Leo. What do you need, sir? Silas. Tonight, after the staff leaves, I want you to take the freight elevator down to B4. Go behind the generator. You'll find an iron door. I want you to clear out everything inside. Every box, every file, every piece of paper. Take it directly to the incinerator and burn it. Leo. Burn it, sir? Without archiving it? Silas, coldly. Did I stutter? Burn it. Do not read it. Do not open the boxes. Just turn it to ash. It's just old trash from the 80s. Can I trust you to do that? Or do I need to find a janitor who wants to keep his pension? Leo. You can trust me, sir. I'll take care of it. Leo went to the locker room to change into his heavy coveralls. He looked at himself in the mirror. He was 65 years old. His hands were calloused, his back was sore, but his eyes were sharp. He had served in the jungle. He knew when a commanding officer was lying, and Silas Blackwood was lying. Burn it. Do not read it. That wasn't a cleaning order, that was a cover-up. Leo, he's scared. I haven't seen a Blackwood that scared since the EPA raids in '95. Leo took his master keyring. He walked to the freight elevator and inserted the key, turning it to maintenance override. The elevator descended, past the lobby, past the parking garage, past the storage levels. It shuddered and stopped at level B4, the unlisted floor. The doors opened into total darkness. The air was thick, smelling of rust and old chemicals. Leo, level B4, the ghost floor. Leo clicked on his heavy-duty flashlight. The beam cut through the steam rising from the pipes. He walked through the maze of machinery, his boots echoing on the wet concrete. He felt the building vibrating around him. It felt like the belly of a beast. Finally, he found it. Hidden behind a stack of rotting cardboard boxes was the door. It was massive, iron, riveted shut. A heavy chain was wrapped around the handle, secured by a padlock the size of a fist. A sign on the door read, Sector 0, sealed by Federal Order 1984. Leo, he wants me to clean this? He wants me to erase history. Leo tugged on the chain. It held fast. He looked at the padlock. It was stamped with a logo. Blackwood Security, 1984. Leo pulled out his master key ring. He tried the skeleton key. It didn't fit. The lock was too old. It predated the modern system. He could have used bolt cutters. He could have broken it open. But Leo was a careful man. He remembered something. 10 years ago, Silas's father, the old CEO, had passed away in his office. Leo had been the one to clean it out. He remembered finding a heavy brass box in the trash can. The executives had thrown it away, thinking it was just a paperweight. But Leo never threw away anything that looked important. He had a stash. A lost and found box hidden in the boiler room. Leo, come on. Tell me I kept it. Leo ran back to the boiler room. He dug through a dusty crate filled with broken watches, old glasses, and forgotten trinkets. And there at the bottom was the brass box. He opened it. Inside, resting on red velvet, was a single jagged iron key. It looked menacing, sharp. Leo, got you. Leo returned to the iron door. He inserted the jagged key into the padlock. It resisted. The rust of 40 years fought against him. Leo gripped it with both hands. He gritted his teeth. Leo, open up! With a screeching grind that echoed through the basement, the lock turned. The shackle popped open. The heavy chain fell to the floor with a loud clang. Leo pushed the door. It groaned on its hinges. Stale, cold air rushed out. It smelled of ozone and death. Silas wanted the room burned because he thought it contained embarrassing financial records, tax fraud, embezzlement. He was wrong. Leo stepped inside and shone his light around. It wasn't an accounting office. It was a war room. Leo, my God, what were they doing down here? The walls were covered in massive maps of the city, but they weren't zoning maps. They were geological maps of the water table. Huge areas of the city were marked in red ink with the words, lethal toxicity. Leo walked to a long metal table. There were rows of glass jars filled with murky yellow liquid. Each jar had a label. Public School 14, Drinking Fountain, 1984. Central Park Reservoir, 1985. Leo. They knew. They were testing the water. Leo opened a filing cabinet labeled Settlements. He pulled out a file. Inside was a letter handwritten from a mother. Dear Mr. Blackwood, my son is 6 years old. The doctors say his leukemia came from the water. You promised us it was safe. Please help us. Stapled to the letter was a carbon copy of the company's reply. It was just a legal form. Liability denied. Leo, voice shaking with anger. They didn't just spill it. They watched it kill people, and they calculated the cost. Leo found a reel-to-reel tape recorder on the desk. He pressed play. The voice of Silas's father crackled to life. We cannot stop production. The toxicity levels in the groundwater are high, but they are within an acceptable range for the profit margin. If the EPA finds out we are dumping into the aquifer, we hang. Seal the reports in Sector 0. Let the next generation deal with the fallout. Leo, horrified. Acceptable for the profit margin. They killed them for money, and Silas is protecting this. Suddenly, a red light on the wall began to pulse. A silent alarm. Leo froze. He looked up at the sensor. He had triggered a perimeter breach. Up on the 90th floor, Silas's phone buzzed. Silas, he opened it. That old fool opened it. Silas grabbed a handgun from his desk drawer. He keyed his radio to his private security detail. Silas, security, get to the sub-basement, level B4, kill the lights. I want the intruder contained. No witnesses. In the basement, the lights cut out completely. It was pitch black. Leo heard the elevator ding down the hall. Heavy footsteps echoed on the concrete. Voices whispered in the dark. Guard 1. Fan out! He's an old man, he can't have gone far. Leo was trapped. He clutched the tape recorder to his chest. He heard boots crunching on the glass he had stepped on earlier. They were getting closer. He needed a distraction. Leo grabbed a heavy wrench from his belt. He waited until the footsteps were close, then he threw the wrench as hard as he could down the opposite hallway. Clang! Guard 2. Over there! By the vents! The guards ran toward the noise. Leo slipped into the shadows, moving silently behind the massive boiler pipe thumbnail his. He couldn't outrun them. He needed a weapon, but not a gun. He needed a voice. He spotted the building maintenance control panel on the far wall. It was dusty, archaic, and largely forgotten. Leo, the emergency broadcast system. The elevator doors opened again. Silas Blackwood stepped out, gun in hand. He looked terrified and furious. Leo, come out! I know you're down here. I'll give you $1 million, Leo. Cash! Just hand over the files and walk away. You can't buy this, Silas. This isn't trash. Where are you? You're a janitor, Leo. You're nobody. No one will believe you over me. Maybe not, but they'll believe your father. Leo flipped the master switch. A high-pitched feedback squeal tore through the entire building. In the lobby, clients covered their ears. In the boardroom, the investors looked up in confusion. Then, Leo held the tape recorder up to the microphone and pressed play. The toxicity levels are high but acceptable for the profit margin. If the EPA finds out we are dumping, we hang. Seal the reports. The voice of the dead CEO echoed through the halls. Silas screamed. No! Shut it off! Silas fired his gun at the speakers on the wall. Sparks flew, but the voice kept playing. Leo stepped out from behind the machinery. The red emergency lights illuminated him. He wasn't hiding anymore. It's over, Silas. The whole world just heard that. Silas. I'll kill you! I'll kill you and burn this place down! Drop the gun! Sarah, the assistant, had led the police down the stairs. Silas froze. He looked at Leo. He looked at the police. He realized the walls were closing in. The police tackled Silas. The guns skittered across the floor. Leo walked over and picked up the Clean Slate Initiative brochure that had fallen from Silas's pocket. He dropped it onto the handcuffed CEO's chest. Leo, your slate is clean now, Silas. Everyone knows the truth. The files Leo found were handed directly to the FBI. They proved that Blackwood Chemical had knowingly poisoned the groundwater of New York for a decade. The evidence was irrefutable. As Silas was dragged out to the waiting news cameras, screaming about conspiracies, Leo Vance stood on the steps of the building. He took off his work gloves. He dropped his keyring into the trash can. He didn't look like an invisible utility anymore. He looked like the man who brought down a giant. Mr. Vance? The families, the victims, they're waiting outside. They want to thank you. Leo, I didn't do it for thanks, Sarah. I did it because some stains don't wash out. You have to expose them to the light. Silas Blackwood is currently serving life in federal prison without the possibility of parole. Leo Vance retired to a quiet cabin by a clean lake. He spends his days fishing. He proved that you can wear a tailored suit and be a criminal, or wear coveralls and be a hero. It's not about the uniform. It's about the man inside. They tried to bury the truth in the dark, but they forgot one thing. The janitor has the keys to every room. What would you do if you found a secret like that? Would you take the $1 million or open the door? Let me know in the comments. And for more stories where justice is served, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.